Hey folks, David Stewart here, giving you the traditional greeting, which I have given low these 13 years. I've been in this YouTube business, I guess for 13 years. I got a notification that my channel turned 13 years old today. So I thought I'd do a video giving everybody a rundown of my history of this YouTube channel, as well as what I've been doing on social media and what my original aims were and some of the things that I've done differently over the last 13 years on YouTube. Before I go any further, yeah, here's some music from last year, some of my crazy, weird, long form improvisational music. You can check it out down below for free on the music only channel, or you can buy it on Bandcamp. I'm always appreciative because music actually has a lot to do with why I began this channel. I have to stop and think. I'm like 13 years ago. It was 2013. Okay. In 2013, I still lived in Las Vegas. What was I doing in Las Vegas? Mostly teaching guitar and other instruments, as well as performing when I could. And that eked out a meager living. And I think by about this time in 2013, I was already very much preparing to leave Las Vegas, leaving Las Vegas, and moved to Los Angeles. I was in a romantic relationship with an old friend at that point, and so she became my wife. It's not like that went away, by the way. It just was, I'm needing to go to that next step. I got married to her in 2014, so that was a year later. But I was getting ready to leave Las Vegas, and I liked YouTube. I found YouTube really useful for a lot of things, and I thought, I would like to do some YouTube videos to record some of my knowledge having to do with the guitar, because at that point in my life, this channel started as a guitar channel, but I was wanting to get out of the music business. I'd been doing music as like my main focus in life at that point for well over a decade. I really had just focused exclusively on music and trying to be in the music business for probably 12 or 13 years before that. Of course, I had been a teacher. I had taught at the university level. I had taught, private lessons, and then I had gigged. I had been gigging multiple nights a week some years. I had seen the huge economic turnaround of 2008 and how that affected pretty much everyone in my business, including myself. I was primarily a classical guitarist, but I was really burned out. And I was burned out on a couple of fronts. So the first one was the classical guitar part. And I went over this in depth in a longer video called Why I Stopped Playing Classical Guitar. But classical guitar had gotten to be really a stagnant and just kind of a drain on me spiritually, because the problem with playing music is that music is really a spiritual exercise. And if you're not into it, it shows. And in order to get into it, it requires some energy from you. It requires some of your spirit. And so playing all of these gigs on classical guitar was taking its toll. It was taking something out of me. I was giving something up by doing it. And while I was doing that, I was playing a lot of the same music I had played for 10 years. And being in that business for over a decade, you learn a couple of things about what kind of music audiences like to hear at what kind of gig. And the music I was very interested in performing, say in my mid-20s, I realized was actually not very popular, even though it was, to me, very exciting, very technical, very beautiful music. When I went out and gigged it, audiences just didn't respond to that music. What did they respond to? They responded to simple, easy things, but also things that were hard and were the classic literature. So when you're thinking of classical guitar, you're probably thinking of a whole lot of different 19th century stuff, whether it's going to be Isaac Albéniz or it's going to be Tárrega or something else like that. And maybe some 20th century stuff thrown in there like Villa-Lobos. And so I had been playing these same songs. I had a long set, like I could play like 3 hours worth of material at one point. So I had these long sets and I was just really bored of them. When you've been playing the same thing for 10 years, like I don't know how certain bands play the same music for 40 years. Like I don't know how Paul McCartney can go out and just like, kill a song that he wrote in the 60s. More power to him for being able to do that and loving his audience enough to do that. But when you're doing it and you don't have as much audience love, because the nature of classical guitar gigs is like you're playing, art galleries and weird things like that. And so people are not as into what you're doing unless it's something familiar to them, you get really bored of it. So I was at this place where like, I need to stop doing this. I want to get back into writing. I had tried writing a novel like when I was like 19 or 20, and I tried off and on doing the fiction thing for years before that, but I decided I'm going to do this for real. I wrote some screenplays with my roommate at the time, who later became my brother-in-law. And we were, working with a production company in Hollywood to kind of polish these up and do something with them. Nothing really came of that, but it got me really excited to make stories. And I started writing novels. I started getting back into writing short stories and then novels. And that was really, really exciting for me. It energized me in a whole lot of ways. So I thought, I would like to record the knowledge that I've already learned from all these years studying the guitar, all these years I've spent performing on the instrument. I'm going to make a YouTube channel and I'm going to give away all of these guitar lessons that I've been doing, because I didn't see much of that on YouTube at the time. And what I saw was just not, in my opinion, very good information. A lot of just wrong information, kind of misdirected technique at the time. And the really good stuff wasn't there. Rather, what you had was just like little tutorials of how to play a song, like where to put your fingers and stuff, and not technique stuff like this is how you develop into a good player. I wanted to show the stuff that I had been teaching my students for 10 years at that point. And so that's where the channel started. So I don't know how many of those early videos are still visible. Some of them I took down, or I put them on private, or put them in unlisted, because they were, I was testing out how to upload to YouTube, and things were not edited, or things were I just threw up the camera and I just like played it. I just like did a take of a song, and there's like mistakes. And I've only figured out later, that you can't put anything on YouTube with mistakes. And now I put a lot of things on YouTube with mistakes on my music channel, but that's kind of like the point of the improvisational music. It's like a rebellion against that, because we've reached this point where with AI, like, this whole thing of like, it's got to be this pristine mimed performance. But that's what people developed into, is that they just started miming performances. And because I didn't do that, because I just threw a phone up and like did a take of like tarantas or something, and there's some buzz notes or like a couple missed notes or something in there, people get really hateful about that stuff. They get really upset, like, and by upset, I mean, they're actually probably guitar players and they're really jealous and they just want to tear other people down. Classical guitar is an extremely toxic community, and flamenco just as much so, if not more so, because there's like a racist element to it, which we don't need to get into too deep. But anyway, I wanted to record that stuff, so that's where I started doing. And I thought, hey, I have this free time in my schedule where like I'm teaching lessons and then I have a break because I don't have a student scheduled for like 30 minutes. So I'll just record videos during that time. And my goal was to record like 1 or 2 videos a week is what I started with, which is nothing, because now I know how to just do like a video a day and can just do it, especially if it's a commentary video like this. It's not that hard. But even now, I could probably, if I had a good setup to do guitar, I could do a guitar technique video every single day and not run out of stuff to do for like years. But I was still learning how to do that, and I just recorded it on my iPhone. I had an iPhone 5, and it could record in 720p video, and that's what I did. So that's how the channel started. Just a humble beginning, just like I want to learn how to do this, and I want to put some information out that'll help people. And I kept doing that, and I kept developing that, and it got a little bit of attention. People did care about that. I had a couple of videos that got a lot of views on guitar, like, what is flamenco guitar, how to do different techniques and things like that, how to play like some very specific parts of the repertoire. And some of those I even like privated over the years, because they just didn't like jive with what I was doing, and I felt like I could do them better. Maybe I'll redo them. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, that's how the channel started. There was a big shift about 2015. So I had my son in 2015, or I should say my wife had my son, because I didn't give birth to my son, right? So we had my son. She gave birth to my son in 2015. And I was working as a public school teacher at that time. I was a band director. I was like a fine arts chair of a district. And it was stressful, you know. It was a stressful job, and so I just kind of let the YouTube thing go for a little while. I recorded YouTube videos for my students, like tutorial videos for how to do things, and then they could look at the YouTube video and, hey, you missed the lesson, or you wanted another shot at that lesson. Cool, there's, check out the video. It's all up there. And in that job, I recorded a great series that still gets a lot of views on. It's an intro to music theory that I just wanted to show the like basis of music theory, not what most people start with. They're like, here's chords. Like, no, let's look at the math. And so I would encourage you to look at that. If you could start with pretty much at ground zero, if you don't really know much about music, you could check out that series and have a really good grounding of what makes music music, and how are the theoretical ideas that we use to construct music, like chords and keys, how are these derived from the reality of mathematical relationships between sound over time, which is what we experience as music. So that's what that series was about. But the channel had a little bit of a shift when I went and watched The Force Awakens with my brother-in-law. And this movie sucked. And I remember coming out to the car, and I was like, dude, that sucked. And he's like, I thought that was great. Now, I'm not, you know, I love my brother-in-law, but I could see why people think it was enjoyable, because I've watched it in the presence of several people since then, it's those moments. I talk about writing for the normies. It was those moments, those big critical moments of like, whoa, the Millennium Falcon's doing this. But I did this review of it, and it got a lot of views, and people wanted more. So I started reviewing movies. I started doing videos on storycraft, because that's where my heart was and my passion was at the time. It's like, okay, I've been educating with guitar. I should educate on stories and literature and these other things that I've studied so in depth that I just haven't really done content on. And I don't really teach it. Like I taught music at the public school. I didn't teach literature or anything like that, even though, you know, that's a big part of my background. So I did a lot of the storycraft videos as well. Those have never actually been super popular, except for a few of them. And the few of them that were popular because they came out at a time where they were kind of exploiting some part of the mimetic landscape. You know, I used the word Mary Sue in one of them or something. And so like, you know, that one gets more views and the others don't really get a lot of views. And so from then on, the channel was just me doing videos on things that I thought were cool. I did a lot of videos on video games, World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls games, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, like leveling guides, like how to master that game, that kind of stuff. Morrowind, some of my very, very favorite things. I might do some more content on Skyrim because I've been playing it again, and I just have some more thoughts on it. Even though like there's so much content on Skyrim, it's more like how to enjoy Skyrim. You know, what makes this actually good, and why haven't we gotten another Skyrim? Anyway, forget about that tangent. So anyway, that's where the channel kind of changed focus and started developing. And in a lot of cases, I've just gone where the views are. I've just go where people go and where people respond, and where the robot kind of tells me to go, which is the robot doesn't really care about me doing informational music content like guitar technique, because it doesn't show it to people. So it discourages me from doing it. People ask, why don't you do those metal album reviews anymore? Oh my gosh, I would love to do those. I get severely punished for doing them. The robot won't show them to people, and well, then my channel does this, or people just don't like to watch them. That could be part of it too. Let me see if I could do this like in a way that makes sense to you. So, you know, views. Here comes the music review, and then they don't recover and then they have to slowly climb back up till I do another record review, and then they drop off a cliff. So I got highly discouraged from doing that. It's not like I felt bad about doing that. There's things that I would do with the channel, like this video, that I'm mostly doing because I just want to do them. And I have a big list of those things that are, you know, that are on the docket. I want to explain this crazy guitar that my neighbor owns that I played and fixed up for him. And it's just, I would love to teach people how to actually get the correct sounds out of this guitar, because no one seems to know how to use this weird Gibson guitar from the early 70s. You know, but I don't think anybody's going to watch that. I don't think most people are going to watch that video with like an intent thing, like, oh, I really wanted to know how the Les Paul recording model guitar worked with all of those, with the decade switch and all that weird stuff on it. It's just not going to be popular. But sometimes you do that and you have the option to do those weird things. What I'm currently doing is I did some reflection on thinking about, like, okay, if I'm really going to do this, when was I able to like most execute? And it was years ago. I basically got shadow banned on YouTube in like 2020 or so, maybe 2019. I don't remember. But basically my views they dropped off a cliff. I lost 80% of my views in 1 month. It could just be the audience got tired of me. Like everyone just got tired of hearing my bullshit and they were done with me. That's possible. But I think it was also just the robot changed what it wanted to show people. So I started making a lot more videos to make up for that, like daily videos. And that was stressful because I was making a list of videos to make, and then I was researching them, and then I was doing everything on one day of the week. What I'm doing right now, I'm trying to do about 5 videos a week. And all I'm doing is I'm just doing one every day on whatever topic I feel like I have a lot to say about. And then I do the video. After I record the video, I write an article based on that video that goes on my Substack. So both of those are there. And it's so easy to write the article because I've already talked about the subject in a video. So it makes it really pretty easy to do. I know some people will be super clever and be like, why don't you get an AI to summarize it and publish that as the article? It's like, no, I don't want to do that because I want to exercise my writing chops and understand how the video and the written format are different and how you can, extract one to the other and understand how to adapt them to those different areas. So that's what I'm doing right now with the channel. More, essays and discussions on the stuff that I've been talking about for a long time. So that is criticism of movies and games and books and maybe music. Sometimes music, I feel like that's just not, people just don't like to hear as much of that. I don't know why, but my audience is just not as interested in that from me as maybe from other creators, and that's fine. I will, continue to do stuff on how to write books, your creative process. Of course, I wrote the book, Keys to Prolific Creativity. It's around here somewhere. You get it if you join the Patreon. Everyone should get it. It's nice and inexpensive. I don't know. I have it somewhere. You could buy Eyes in the Walls. This one's close. Boop. Guitar picks falling on the ground. I still play music. Okay. So yes, I have the Patreon. Please join the Patreon. That helps me to not have to grind so hard with the robot and to be able to spend more of my extra time that I'm not doing these to like do the music stuff. So my current project right now is I've actually come back to the music business. As much as I hated the music business 13 years ago, I've come full circle to where it's like, no, I'm doing this because I really want to do it, and I'm pursuing something that's really weird that I don't need it to be popular, and I don't need to be like adhering to market standards. I can work outside of that pretty comfortably. I have the option to do that now, and I'm going to take that option when I have it. Right now, my current focus, besides the improvisational music, which you can get at bandcamp.com, zulonline.com will also take you to the correct place. Besides that, it's basically a sonata for guitar. You can think of it as classical guitar, but I'm actually playing it right now on my arch top. I may actually record it on my Les Paul because the tone is just so good on that guitar. But at least one movement, I might do one movement on it. We'll see. We'll see how I decide to record it. I've done some live demos with all the mistakes just so people can hear like the format of that piece. But I want to do some studio recordings so they're perfect. They still won't be perfect even when I record it, but they'll be closer, they'll be cleaner, so people get an idea of a more ideal state of the way things are supposed to be with this. So I've come full circle. I started with music. I wanted to be out of the music business. I got out of the music business, sort of, and I still gigged. I still gigged after that because not because I needed money, but because people would ask me to. It'd be like, can you play for this funeral or wedding? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm not going to say no to playing at someone's funeral. They want me to play at it. I played at my own father's funeral. So I'm very well practiced with being able to do things like that. So, but anyway, I still have gigged a bunch of times after that. I thought I'd be done with that forever, but if the gig comes up, I guess I'll take the gig. And it comes full circle back to doing music. And that part of that is that the book business is really bad. So how I felt about the music business 13 years ago, that's really how I felt about the book business last year. Was I'm just really tired of doing it. I'm really tired of grinding it. I'm writing books for me. I'm not necessarily for me, really. I mean, really for my audience, but like I'm not writing books to try to appease the Amazon robot and let it, I'm not writing to market. I'm writing things that I think are cool and that people should read because they're cool and they're good and because they're full of ideas that I think are fun, not books that are trying to hit some market segment. There's no point in doing that, especially with the super saturation in those markets from AI writing. You just have to not play that game, right? You can't win that game and be an authentic writer. So if I want to be a real writer, then I have to play a different game. It's the same thing with music, right? Recording, one of the reasons I was so frustrated with the music business is like I could never get really good solid recordings done. I just didn't know enough musicians. Like I had a hard time like recruiting drummers to play not classical guitar kind of stuff. And it was just, I was always banging my head against the wall getting those recordings done. Now I could probably do it I figured out how to do it pretty efficiently on my own, but the studio magic thing is over for me. I really want to play live again. That's such a weird place to be back in. We're like, I want to play live. Live is what it needs to be because live is where it's human. Live is where we're interacting. Live is where we're having our moments together. Live is humanity. Whereas that pristine, idealized studio recording is robotic. And because it's robotic, are you going to compete very well against the robot? Are you really differentiating yourself from the robot? Are you doing something that's more special than the robot? How much more special is your idealized, super produced recording compared to what an AI will do? I think we need to be jazz musicians in all our different arts. We need to paint live. We need to draw live. We need to write live. I wrote a book live last year, which was really cool. And I will probably publish that this year, do like a crowdfund for it. But anyway, I wanted to reflect on the history of the channel and why I changed directions and things. A lot of times it's because I wanted to. A lot of times it was because I was rewarded for doing it and there was an audience that wanted things from me. I tend to respond to what you guys say and what you guys are asking for. I want to deliver that. Even if one person's like, I wish you would do a video that's like this. It's like, I want to do that video now because I know that even if there's an audience of one, somebody wants that. And that means that there's a market need for it. And I want to fulfill that need if I can. And I don't even care if like that one video doesn't make that much money. When you are wanting to do this YouTube thing, volume right now is kind of the big thing is volume. The more you're able to put out there, the more likely you are to find something that really catches people's attention. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing like little talk to the camera videos like this, analysis videos, which is kind of what I tend to do, or you're doing other kinds of content like comedy bits, or you're doing music or something like that. The more you do, the more chance you have to kind of catch the moment. And so I encourage you, if you're thinking about YouTube, to remember that you're rolling the dice every time you make a video. Now it's not all dumb luck, right? You can change your luck, and you can change your luck by observing what was popular and figuring out what made that popular. Was it the controversy? Was it the usefulness? I have evergreen content that, if somebody wants to look up a certain topic or some instruction, they're going to find that video forever. And that's good. There's different ways to do YouTube, but every time you do it, you roll the dice. So the more times you roll the dice, the more likely you are to hit lucky seven. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's what's going on. That's kind of the near future of the channel. I'm going to try to continue to do this just as a daily part of my routine. That's another thing I learned from my book, Keys to Prolific Creativity. I didn't learn this from the book. I put it in the book because I had learned it before. Let's state that correctly. Whatever you do, if you can do it every day, if you habituate it to an everyday kind of thing, then you are way ahead of the game. That's how you're really going to get stuff done. That's how you're going to get a lot. That's how you're going to get your projects completed on time and under budget. It's how you're going to master your instrument. You got to practice every day. It's how you're going to finish your book. You just write every day. So I'm trying to record every day. I'm trying to do content for my social media platforms every day. Interesting things. I want to say interesting things to people. I want to give interesting information. Some of that might include guitar instruction content. So if there's any guitar instruction content that you want, please let me know. If they're like, hey, do you know how to do this? Like, do you want to know how to do cross string tremolo? I can show you how to do that. Tremolo on 2 strings. You want to know how to do that? I can do that for you. From Stefan Rock. He's the guy who is famous for doing it. By famous, I mean famous in the classical guitar world. But I could show you techniques, or I could teach pieces, or I could, do little bits and pieces of the current stuff that I'm working on, in addition to studio recordings. I'm always interested to see what people are looking for instructions, rather than, I have my structured way of approaching it. But I always, when I would sit with a student be like, I want to know how to do this. It'd be like, okay, well, let me show you. Let's build the foundation to do that thing. Anyway. That's my thoughts on that. Thanks for listening to this long rambling video. I appreciate it. I will see you all next time. Have a great, great day. And that's the new album, Dusk Eternal. Take it easy.